Hey there, everyone. I'm Shanta Jackson, and my purpose in life is to help people to help themselves and others. And today I have with me someone that I consider to be a serial entrepreneur. At the age of 26, he quit his full-time job to pursue entrepreneurship, and and that was in 2012. And what are we, about 6, 7 years later? At the age of 33, he now has three successful companies that generate millions in annual revenue. Everyone, welcome Chiko Abengowe. Hi, Chiko. How are you?
Hey, Shanta, how's it going?
Good, good, good. So let's get started. I like to get straight to the point. You quit your job at 26.
I did.
Before you tell me about that journey and why, I want you to tell me about your businesses, starting with your first company.
Sure. First of all, thank you for having me here. This is a privilege and an honor, of course. So Perfect Staffing Solutions is my first company that I started when I first quit my job. And basically, what we do there is we provide staffing solutions to organizations that need, temp staff or staffing augmentation. And then, secondly, is
How many employees do you have for the first company?
so for the first company, we have about 50 employees
50.
that we staff at different either healthcare-based organizations or admin organizations, or even sometimes IT and warehouse companies. And then the second company is Perfect Office Solutions, which is basically an office solutions based. Well, it's a real estate based company that provides affordable, professional, and flexible workspace offices for entrepreneurs. And then we have the third company, which is Perfect Property, which provides property management and property investment uh, for um, for individuals that just need property management of their investment property.
Okay. So just really quick, your volume, if you could bring your mic up closer to your mouth or either turn your volume up so that way we won't have any issues.
Okay, how do I
Okay.
sound now? Maybe
Yeah.
I just need to speak a little bit louder.
Yeah, or put it closer to your mouth, that's all.
Okay.
Okay. So your second company, you said real estate, and you essentially lease out office spaces. How many office spaces do you have now? I'm trying to give everyone kind of a feel on the depth and the size of your businesses.
Yeah, so with Perfect Office, we have a total of 8 different locations, each location having about 50 to 90 private offices. And so we have about 512, if I'm not mistaken, 512 private offices, which 98% of that is already occupied.
Oh wow, wow.
Hmm.
And so for your third company, what's the size? Is that the newer company?
Yes, that's Perfect Property is the newest company. We just started that a year ago, February 11th,
Hmm.
last year. But we have 31 different, about 30 company, 30 properties that we manage um, with that company.
Okay. And ooh, wow. And within 12 months? Not,
Yes,
well,
yes.
within a year, yeah. Yeah, wow, that's a lot. And
Mhm.
so how did you get, what made you do this? You were working full time, and what were you doing before you quit your job?
So before I quit my job, I was a humble healthcare recruiter at a large healthcare staffing agency by the name of Maxim. So it's a staffing agency that mostly focused on recruiting nurses and healthcare providers to different organizations like hospitals, nursing homes, and such.
And so what made you take the leap?
I mean, I guess like for pretty much like just kind of growing up and living life, I just felt like there was something more out there. Like I just felt like I wasn't living my full potential. I felt like I was living an average lifestyle, and I knew somewhere in me, and just from teaching and just from growing up, that there was something great inside of me that I was designed great, I was built great, I was made great, and I just wasn't feeling that way. I wasn't living to my greatest potential. So I said, hey, you know what? I need to stop settling for this average lifestyle and figure out an environment, right, that I can uh uh um an environment that will allow me to live my fullest potential. And for me, that was entrepreneurship. So I I grasped onto that, quit my job right away. I only had $1,000 in my name at that time. I had $1,000 and then just started my company the next day. So December 3rd, 2012, I quit, had $1,000 in the bank, and then December 5th, I made a decision I was going to start my company on the 4th, and then on the 5th, I actually drove up to Baltimore and registered the company and just started from there. And got an office space. It's funny. Got an office space like 2 weeks later. I signed up for an office space. I think at that time paying $750 a month, and
With only $1,000 in the bank.
with only $1,000 in the bank. Yep. Sometimes you gotta take that jump. You gotta take that leap of faith and just get started. Because nothing great ever happens until you get started.
Yeah. So in the past, like I'll read like Entrepreneur magazine and different articles, and they'll talk about the different types of entrepreneurs that there are. And so it's like you can be the type of entrepreneur where you take a risk and you learn as you grow.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can be the type of entrepreneur that it's like, you know what? No, I have to have this amount of money saved. I have to get this degree first. I have to save up. I have to get this plan, and I have to do X, Y, Z, and this and this and this and that. And before you know it, you actually never get started. Mm-hmm. Or when you are started, you're never confident enough, and you're not actually a risk taker. And so with me, with my personal story, I've had a few businesses before I started this one. Mm-hmm. So I like to describe myself as a failed entrepreneur. But I did start them while I was working full time, and I just never kicked them off. Well, one business I started full time when I was working full time, and then another business. I was a real estate agent. I used to be a loan officer. I started a royal concierge type company in Las Vegas, but I did good at starting the businesses, but I never really fully launched them or never got any clientele. I did the marketing, I did the all of the legal paperwork, but never got started. Not until I took a chance to move to Maryland from Nevada, from Las Vegas. Did I really decide and get the confidence to pursue entrepreneurship? Because like you, I'm like, this is not the life, and I'm being used. And you start noticing your self-worth a little bit more. And then I started noticing that when I speak, people listen to me. And then decision makers would come to the table and say, and would tell others to be quiet because Shanta has something to say. Like they were actually looking to me to give advice and to consult. So what I started doing with my job, even though I stayed there for about 4 years, I actually, 2 months in, I said, this is not the job for me. But before I leave, everyone will know Shanta Jackson's name. And so what I started to do, I started to treat all of my associates and everyone that I worked with, community partners, I started to pretend as if they were clients and as if I were consulting. And I did start, my story is a little bit different from yours. I actually started my company, I believe it was April 21st, 2015. And I consulted on the side for 2 years. That in 2017, November 1 is when I became 100% self-employed. But I gave it like a 30, 40-day notice. I felt kind of responsible to transition and not leave the team behind. And I wanted to kind of leave on a healthy relationship. But and the reason I mention my story is because I know that there are people watching and you have your story too. So there's not necessarily a right or wrong way to kind of step into entrepreneurship.
Right.
Sometimes you just got to take the chance and take the leap. So I imagine that you have a lot of responsibilities. You have 3 companies, multiple staff, and how do you manage day to day? Like, what does your day look like?
Wow. Yeah, no. It's definitely a lot of responsibilities, and just in terms of just like even the staff, and then the client on the client end. So obviously, I have about a little more than 50 employees that I work with on a daily basis, and then have about over 1,000 clients that we cater to all throughout within the three different companies. But on a daily basis, I wake up early. It's just kind of
What
how I can. Normally, I wake up at 4 o'clock every morning.
time? Okay.
And I'm usually in the office by like 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, getting my stuff done in terms of just like stuff that I need to take care of before staff come in. But with three of the companies I do have, I've scaled the business to a point where I have managers that take care of the day to day aspect of things. So I don't have to really do much of the day to day at this point, but I still do the sales aspect, the getting new clients, that the expansion. That's mostly what I focus on, especially with Perfect Office. But yeah, so the day starts at 4 a.m. and goes all the way to 6 p.m. Just handling different issues, dealing with employees, doing payroll, doing accounting. So a lot of different things, and then meetings all in between that.
So you mentioned a few things that kind of sparked some thoughts for me.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you said that you were able to scale up. So you were able to scale to where you are actually a business owner and not necessarily a business operator.
Yes.
And how I would like to explain that to the audience is um, for me and my business as of now, Cause Engagement Associates, we have 6 active clients, all organizations, 6 active clients, and we manage 9 different projects for those clients. However, even though I hire independent contractors and consultants to work with me, I'm not a business owner.
Mm.
And that's something that I need to work on and that I am working on to scale up to where it's my responsibility, just as your responsibility is the legal, the marketing, and financing, and to keep the business going and to make the business decisions, not run
Right.
the day to day. As
Right.
of now, that's my dilemma, and something that I'm working on is to scale up my business to where Shanta Jackson, doesn't have to be on every client project and do everything and always interact with the clients on a regular basis, to the point where it's harder for me to get new clients, even
Right.
though there's word of mouth. And even though my clients are repeat and I work on multi-year projects, multi-year contracts, I still want to be able to scale the business and grow the business. So I'm glad that you mentioned that.
Yes.
And so for everyone who is listening, we all have to start from somewhere, but our goal should be eventually to be more so business owners, and so where our businesses can run themselves so that we can manage again, the finance, the marketing, the sales aspects, and the executive decision making, and not have to be in the weeds every day, and be that in everything. Um,
Right.
and my
Yeah.
and I have a second business as well that I'm growing, which is a part of what we're doing right now. So this is more so my personal brand, shantajackson.com. Shanta Jackson, the author, the thought leader, the speaker. And so I'm working on, and I'm learning lessons from Cause Engagement Associates, and I'm setting this second business up better to where I have in my head compartmentalized a marketing and sales department, and I have different people doing certain things for me. Um, so I just wanted to kind of point that out, and that's the things that I heard when you were speaking, and what came to mind. Um, Tell me about highs and lows.
I mean, like, in business, you're definitely gonna have highs and lows. It's just part of the process. Every day you're gonna have a high of that day, and then every day you're gonna have a low of that day. But the important part, being an entrepreneur and being a business owner, is learning to control or to manage your emotions. Never get too high, never get too low. just know how to manage through those processes so that way you're not making decisions that are based out of emotion. But yeah, so every day there's a low, and every day there's sometimes could be a high, but just learning how to just kind of manage those different emotions. And then sometimes I've been kind of guilty of this, and sometimes it puts you in a situation where sometimes people think you're not emotional, but it's when you go through that process of learning how to manage your emotions, I think it helps you in the long term with when it comes to building a big business.
Do you or have you ever had moments to where you question yourself and you're like, why am I doing this? Or I just don't want to do this?
Every day, every day, every day. So every day there's got to be a validation. So sometimes when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, why am I waking up this early? You know what I mean? And that's that internal conversation that you got to have with yourself so that way you understand what you're doing. And that happens every day. Every day you got to remind yourself that there's people out there, right, that are looking for an affordable office space, or there's companies out there that need help with staffing, or there's investors out there that don't know how to manage their properties. So every day when you wake up, you got to remind yourself, what is the value proposition that you want to bring to this world? And as long as you understand that, I think you're very excited about the day ahead. I wake up every day excited because I understand what I'm trying to get accomplished, and I understand the value proposition that I bring into this world. And that's what business is all about. If you're bringing value, you're getting paid. If you're not bringing value, you're not getting paid. And I just keep it that simple. I try not to overcomplicate things. I'm not that smart. You know what I mean? I keep it simple. Provide value and get paid for it.
Okay. So you said you're not that smart. Tell me about some of your growing pains or things that you've had to learn or improve about yourself.
I think my biggest growing pain probably is running a company without any borrowed funds. But I'm glad I kind of went that route. And I'll tell you why I'm glad I went that route a little bit later. But I literally started my company. And sometimes when I talk about it, people are just thinking, okay, well, he had $1,000 when he started, but then he borrowed money. No. I had $1,000 and that was it. I had to utilize that $1,000 to build a company. And then that first year we did $400,000 in revenue. The second year we did $800,000 in revenue, and third year we did $1.2 million. And from then till now, I have 3 different companies. And if we did $400,000 this month, it would be a very disappointing month. And it's all been with just no money borrowed. It's just been just using the revenue that we make and the profits that we make to continue to grow the organization. And that's been one of my greatest growing pains, but I'm glad I did it that way because all 3 of my companies, I own it 100%, and we owe nobody any debt. And even through this COVID situation, when the market took a dive, we were able to go through it without any borrowed funds from the government. And in fact, a lot of my employees, this past month got more in bonuses than they got in a stimulus check. So I'm excited about that.
Yay! Congratulations, Chiko. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm super proud of you.
Yeah.
What about self-care? You said that you wake up around 4 a.m. and you mentioned that you kind of do things for yourself or things you have to do. Does that include working out, eating a healthy breakfast? Like, how are you taking care of yourself, your physical and then also your mental?
You know what? I got to get better at that. But I do take time during the day or after work to just kind of spend some time with myself. But in terms of working out, I need to start. And in terms of eating breakfast, I'm not a breakfast type of person. I don't eat breakfast. I don't get hungry that early. I usually eat lunch and then I eat dinner. But I don't eat breakfast, but
You're fasting. I'm not justifying it, but
yeah,
because I can relate. So it's just like, oh, I broke my fast. For me, sometimes I'll break my fast at 12 o'clock. Or
right,
when I do break my fast, I'm mindful of I try to be very mindful of what it is that I do consume. So the first
right.
thing I'll try to have some tea or like some orange or a banana or something like that. To where
Mm-hmm.
even though I've been fasting, the first thing I put in my body, I try to put something nutritious in. But sometimes if there's some chips right there, I will eat chips.
Right.
I'll eat dinner for breakfast. Just whatever. It kind of depends on how my day is.
Right.
And I just now started to go outside and just go for a walk. And then I
Mm.
started taking meetings outside. So I look at my calendar for the day. And a lot of my clients are health focused, social well-being in general. So they
Mm-hmm.
should understand. And so I started to take meetings outside or on my balcony, kind of doing work.
Mm. That's a good
However,
idea.
in the past year, I really haven't worked out. I just happen to I don't eat bad per se. I have an okay, decent diet, and I drink a lot of water. I barely drink any sugar sweetened beverages, um, and so I think that's been kind of saving me.
Yeah. I'm opposite. I'm opposite.
What
I
do you
don't.
eat, Chico?
Huh?
What are you eating? What did
I
you eat today? It's 1:22 p.m. Eastern. What did you eat today?
I haven't ate yet. I haven't
Okay.
ate yet. But after this, I will eat though. Last time I ate was last night at maybe 7 o'clock. Last night, 7 o'clock. Yeah. Haven't ate anything yet. I have drank lemonade, yes. But that's about it. But after this, I'm probably gonna grab something to eat.
Yeah, you got to take care of yourself because you want to be able to enjoy all of the fruits of your labor. And I
I
know,
agree.
and so even though you're a successful business person, you still want aspects of your life. And I know
I
it's
agree.
kind of hard. You need to find a balance, a work-life balance that may or may not be realistic, depending on what level you are in your business and in
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurship. But you do have to take better care of yourself. So I would encourage you to do that. We do have some comments in the chat. We have Peggy in Chicago says, hey, and Shalonda in Virginia says hello. And then we have Terry in Baltimore. She says, so often lack of staffing and human resources might restrict production to the pace of demand, reflecting as poor customer service. How do business owners or new startups balance capacity limitations and providing excellent customer service? So how do you balance that capacity to delivering that good customer service?
Uh
Or how have you
good
kind
que-
of figured that out?
yeah, no, good question. I think customer service uh you need staff. I'm trying to figure out exactly where she's coming from with the question, but you definitely need staff that are dedicated to customer service, in terms of just handling issues that come up, because a lot of time, often, what happens with customer service is that most entrepreneurs or most businesses just don't have enough scale where they can pay someone to dedicate to customer service, or design their business in a way where it is customer service focused. And it's sometimes a lack of revenue. A lack of revenue is usually the problem that most entrepreneurs encounter. Um, and what I try to tell people is just figure out where the revenue source of your business is, so that way you can quickly scale that up and put systems in place or employees in place to be able to handle customer service. A lot of times when I look at entrepreneurs' businesses and they're having problems with customer service, it's just that they don't have staff dedicated to that, because they don't have enough revenue coming in to dedicate staff or build a system that takes care of that.
Or even when you're growing your business, so or when you're in your development stage from the very beginning, and if in its infancy stage, um, for me, what I did is, so you mentioned your value proposition. And so you have a certain value, and that's a part of your branding as well, what it is that you have to offer. Branding is more than just colors and your logo, and messaging.
Right.
And so in developing your business, that could be a standard. So when you're hiring on staff in your practices, that could be something that goes in, that's embedded in the culture of your organization, even if it's just a one person business that you're starting out, but that can just be embedded from the very beginning. Like, make that a part of your value, your mission, and the vision of your company. And think about, what do you want your customers to say about you, depending on the type of business that you have. Reviews can make or break you.
Yeah. In the beginning of your organization, or the beginning of your business, you are customer service. I mean, you're everything. Your sales, your customer service, your marketing, you're everything. And you got to, a lot of times entrepreneurs got to get that through their mind. Like, there's nobody else to do it. You have to do all of that until you can get to a point where you can hire someone to do it as effective, if not better than you can do it. But in the beginning of each of my businesses, I was customer service. I was everything to everyone until you can get enough revenue coming in where you get help. It doesn't mean that you stop. It just means that now you have the opportunity to be able to service more people. But I'm always customer service focused. I'm always focusing on the sales. I'm always finding ways to market, or finding ways that we can become more efficient to serve our client base.
Okay. And Michelle says hi, Michelle Armstead.
Hey, Michelle, how are you?
You earlier you mentioned self-financing, and you said that you wanted to get back to that, and why you were happy or glad that you decided to not borrow any funds. So let's talk about, tell me what your thoughts were about that and what advice you want to give. And then also, what I'm interested to know, your process of reinvesting your money to grow your businesses.
Yeah. So in terms of just like, and at first it's just very, very hard to self-fund a business. And then certain companies, it's kind of impossible. Like, I mean, if you're in like a medical based, or you know what, I don't want to just single it out to just medical based, but there's certain companies that definitely you need some type of outside funding to be able to start. But if you're an individual, you're looking to start a business, you don't have any money, you should focus on starting something service based that you can quickly start providing right away. But I'm glad. The reason I say I'm glad I did it
Put
that
your
way.
mic up. When you turned your head, your volume was perfect.
When I turned my head, my volume
It
was perfect.
was the volume. Yeah.
Got it. Can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Perfect. My favorite word. Okay. So basically, the reason why I'm excited that I self-funded is because a lot of times when it comes to decision making, I am the sole decision maker of my organizations. I like it that way. I've seen so many different entrepreneurs that are excited about their business, and then they go and borrow funds, or they're funded by another person or another organization, and they start to lose that excitement. And part of the reason is because they're no longer in control. You have somebody else telling you what to do, when to do it, and it just starts to become like a job situation, which most entrepreneurs started their businesses to get away from. And now their creativity is being subdued, and they're not the decision maker in terms of something that they see as a passion, and they start to lose that. So I encourage entrepreneurs, figure out a way to bootstrap, because eventually, if you are servicing your client base the way you're supposed to be servicing them, and they're happy with what you're providing, which they should be, you're going to be able to make enough revenue to be able to reinvest in your business in a way that's meaningful for you to be able to scale.
So you just said the keyword reinvest. I have the option, or we all would have the option of, you know what, I made this amount of money, I have this income coming in, and you know what, I want to go buy a larger, I want to buy a house, I want to buy a car. those diamond earrings that I've always wanted, and that Lady Datejust Rolex. Um, what's your advice there? So you didn't do any of that, I assume.
Absolutely not. And I think the most important thing is you got to figure out what your goal is. For me, my goal it wasn't. Let's put it this way: first year in business, we made $400,000 in revenue. Out of that $400,000, I probably only paid myself 5,000 of that dollars, right? And the second year, it wasn't until the second year after we made $800,000 in business that I put myself on a salary of $40,000 a year, because I was taking most of that money and reinvesting back into the business so that I can grow it. When you're in a process of growing a business, you want to try to invest as much, because supposedly that money that you're investing is supposed to bring a return. So the more you invest, the more return you will get. So if you're selling your business short by not investing in your business will not grow and get to the point where you need it to be, so that way it can start to pay you what type of money. I mean, I wasn't satisfied with $40,000, $50,000. I'm not satisfied with $100,000. I want to get to the point where my company is paying me $1 million a year. You get what I'm saying? And the only way to do that is to keep and continue to reinvest in my company. If you're taking more than 10%, now I'm just throwing this out there, it could be different for everybody. If you're taking more than 10% of what your business is bringing in terms of revenue, you're killing your business. Definitely killing your business. I always stay below 5% of whatever my business is bringing in terms of a salary to myself, under 5%. And even my latest, well, not my latest, but even with Perfect Office, I didn't pay myself anything until the business started making at least $1 million in revenue. And sometimes you got to ask yourself a question: are you a disciplined entrepreneur? Like, how disciplined are you? Because some people will not make that decision in terms of not paying yourself anything until your business starts making $1 million in revenue. Two things: it definitely motivates you to figure out a way to get it to $1 million because you want to get paid.
So how did you live off of $5,000 a year? So your business owned the property that you lived in, or the business owned, you were driving a company car. Is that how you?
No. So what happened? So when I first started my company, before I quit my job to start my company, I was doing other side hustles. So I had a condo that I was renting out on Airbnb. I was also investing in the stock market. And then third, I was tutoring. So those three different things that I was doing was bringing me in a residual income of about $2,500,
Okay.
which I was living on. And then when needed, I had tapped into the company for about $5,000 worth of just a quote unquote salary, if you would call that a salary. And then, but that first year, what I was trying to do is establish the company in a way where the second year I can actually have a salary of $40,000 a year.
Okay. And Terry has a question about disciplined entrepreneurship, and Terry, so do I. So now, if you're disciplined enough, then that's the finances. What other areas in life do you have to be disciplined in? What about relationships? What about your social life?
Yeah, I mean, you have to just be a disciplined individual. Discipline is not something you turn on and turn off. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't just turn it on and turn it off. You just have to be a disciplined individual, a disciplined entrepreneur. I mean, there's a lot of different areas that I practice. Sometimes people say extreme discipline. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't. Like even with relationships, I'm not in a relationship right now. And then just certain relationships I just stay away from because it could be a distraction. If it's not a relationship that's advancing me towards my goals and my dream, I really don't participate or give it that much attention.
Good for you. Good for you. And so your circle of friends and colleagues or the individuals that are close to you. So of course you have your employees, but who are the individuals that you kind of feed off of and transfer that energy, or and then also who do you go to for advice?
I do a lot of reading, and I do a lot of following and studying people that I admire. So I would say that's where I get most of my inspiration from. But ultimately, it's nobody's responsibility to motivate me. It's my responsibility, and I have to understand that every single morning when I wake up, it doesn't matter. Like, it's your responsibility to motivate yourself. It's your responsibility to make sure that you're doing what's necessary in order to be able to move yourself, your company forward, and those that depend on you. There's no time for crying. There's no time for making excuses. There's no time for blaming anybody. Have the total power to put yourself in the situation that you're in. Nobody else put you in there but yourself. And and I just don't like to give away that type of power to anybody else, because if I'm claiming that somebody else put me in this situation, that means when I want to get out of this situation, I have to go ask for permission.
Exactly. I'm glad that you mentioned that, because you're saying individual, like when you say somebody, nobody. But for me, I'm thinking about systems. And a lot of people, the man or the system is designed this way, and it's a racist system, and society is not set up for us. And so one of the things that I'm doing with this show is I'm hoping people can catch on to what I'm doing. I'm trying to position individuals, and we all have our different places in life, and we all have our different skills and value add to provide, right? So for me, I'm just trying to help individuals to be the best that they can be, to bring that out so that they can help themselves be healthy, gain that confidence, and provide them resources and skills so that they can go out and be independent. Ultimately, it's about independence. And I do understand that not everyone is meant to be a business owner, and that not entrepreneurship is for everyone. However, correct, I do think that everyone should have an entrepreneurial spirit.
Correct. I agree.
Right? And I do agree with you about giving another person, entity, or group or organization enough power. And I was just thinking about this over the past couple of days. How can I help people and moving forward in different initiatives that I want to do? And one of the things that I would challenge individuals on, it's not necessarily about you. If you feel like it's too late for you, you don't have the skill set. If you have children, then give your children an opportunity. I would like for everyone to make a goal, especially the single mothers out there. Like I said, it's not necessarily about you. Make it about your children. Why can't you make it a goal and say, you know what, moving forward, I'm the last person in this family that will be dependent upon entitlement programs. I'm the last person in this family. I'm not teaching my kid about Section 8. I'm not teaching my kid about WIC. I have to do this for now, but I'm working on some certain things for myself. But even if I never get out of this situation, or even if I don't have faith that I can get out of this situation that I'm in right now,
right?
For my child, expose your kids to different opportunities and different experiences. You may not understand history, culture, art, but the museums are there. The museums are free. Expose your children to that, and it should be better with every generation. So I would challenge everyone out there. I know I kind of went off, on the tangent a little bit, but I would just encourage everyone out there, independence, and if you don't feel comfortable and confident that you can be an entrepreneur, or that I want you to be independent and I want you to be your best self, but don't hinder your children. And keep in mind that also, you can tell your children certain things, you can say certain things, but they're looking at your behavior. They're looking at you, your mannerisms, the way you carry yourself, your attitude, your body language, how you respond to stress, how you handle things. Your kids are paying attention to you, and you're teaching them how to be adults. And just think about what you want to produce in the world. That's not necessarily about entrepreneurship in our topic for today, but that's just something that I have been thinking about for the past couple of days. And so I'm glad that that you mentioned, giving your power away, right? I think we should be taking our power back.
Of course, of
Yeah.
course. And I believe everybody could be an entrepreneur. I mean, because I keep it simple again. Entrepreneurship is those who provide value for compensation. What are you doing at work?
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to be providing value for compensation. Some people just clock in and clock out. But I really believe that you can have employees that have that entrepreneurship mindset. Because even when I had a job, I had an entrepreneurship mindset. I came in early, stayed late, and made sure that the company that I was working for, I was hitting sales target goals and succeeding. When I used to work at the staffing agency that I used to work at, I used to make sure I used to bring them in revenue of $3 million a year. You know what I'm saying? So that's providing value. You provide value for compensation. So I believe even when people have a 9-to-5 job or whatever type of job, they can start to be able to tap into that entrepreneurship spirit so that when they do decide to start their own business, it's a easier transition.
Yes. And Chiko, thank you for your time today. I like to end the conversation because I know people have a short attention span. To find you, so on Instagram, it's at Chiko the Dream Chaser. At Chiko the Dream Chaser, right?
Yep, at Chiko the Dream Chaser.
Okay, and his contact information is in the description of today's video. And for those of you who joined us live, thank you so much. And for those of you who are watching this pre-recorded video, please continue to check in with me. You can follow me and subscribe on YouTube at the Shanta Jackson, and then you can follow me also on Instagram and learn more about me at my website, shantajackson.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you.